Hey everyone, we're here with Jason Corl, one of the design engineers of the brand new Team Associated SC10 4x4, shown right here. Jason, we want to ask you a little bit about the design concept now. You could have easily taken a vehicle and copied other vehicles that Associated makes and make it into an easy 4x4, but you chose the all-new ground-up design. Now, you tell us a little bit about what motivated that decision and some of the features the vehicle has?
Yeah, well, first off, I just want to say thanks for being here. And the SC10 4-wheel drive was a big project, one of the biggest Associated's ever done, and we really took our time and did our homework when we got started. And one of the things we did was, of course, looked at all the competition. If you want to make sure you're the best, you got to know what you're competing against. So we went out there and we looked at all the other trucks and we checked everything out and saw how everybody else went about doing it. And what we came up with is the majority of people, rebadged stuff they already had, or stretched it, changed it a little bit, and they end up having a car that's kind of cobbled together, and they called it a 4-wheel drive short course. With the exception of Traxxas, they did a nice job, but not exactly a performance vehicle where we want to go with it. So we decided to go ground up. We decided that's what it needed. We reviewed our options, and of course one was we could have had it out a year and a half ago of rebadging another product available like other people have done. And we decided that's not what our customers would want and nor expect from Team Associated. So we took it to the next level, and we gave you something that you should be a proud owner of and have a lot of fun with. So we did go over a full concept of the chassis layout production, and one of the main things you'll notice different about the SC10 4-wheel drive is full composite chassis with the low center of gravity battery layout. Gives a better performance on the track, cheaper to manufacture, easier to work on, long life, very durable. So ground up, new truck.
Well, one of the obvious major differences in this platform than some of the others we've seen is the return to belt drive technology. We saw that a lot in some of the past cars, 10-scale electric 4-wheel drive cars, all the way back to the chain-driven days. And then the belts and the Yokomos and the Losis and stuff like that. But we've kind of gone away from that recently in recent years, switched to the shaft-driven stuff. Most companies have to follow suit with the A-scale off-road cars. But this vehicle has the belt drive again. Can you tell us a little bit about what inspired that choice and some of the positives that go along with it?
Sure. The belt drive, it's new for Team Associated in the 4-wheel drive platform. Again, we went back and looked at all the other products out there, and we looked mainly at what the customers need, a little bit about what they want, which is sometimes different, but we came up with a package that we thought was going to be best for everybody. We incorporated really good features. You'll see a lot of shaft drive trucks out there will have a 3-gear differential, 3-gear differentials, drivetrain. That's good in 8-scale. It's durable. There's a lot of conditions you run in and stuff, but for 10 scale, what we decided to go with was, of course, the belt drive system. The cars normally have the center differential. The purpose of that differential is to allow the front and rear tires to travel at different speeds, and so when you're going through bumps, the car is a lot more stable. What we did to kind of address that same condition without having that third differential is we have what's called a decoupled slipper. So the front belt is actually driven off of one side of the slipper and the rear is off the other side. So actually each side, each set of wheels, front and rear, can spin at different speeds. So your car's going to be more stable going through the bump sections, etc. Back to the layout of the car, we put the motor in sideways in the transverse position. We had the option to put the belt anywhere, but what we want to do is optimize the polar moment of the car. That means you want everything as close to the center line as you can get it, as reasonable, of course, while keeping the center of gravity low. So a belt, nice and lightweight. We can throw that up a little bit higher, slide the battery in underneath it. People say, well, you could have put a shaft up there too. Yeah, you could have. Gear train gets a lot more complex. The decoupled slipper, again, a lot more complex. getting the gears the right size to be durable, it just wasn't practical. Another problem you're going to run into, you throw a shaft up high and you get chassis flex in your car, you're running, that shaft's going to want to bend or buck and even get ejected out of the car in some conditions. So belt's not going to do that. We got good tensioners in here, it stays in place. Actually, the belt cover is actually a telescoping belt cover. It actually moves back and forth while staying sealed, so it takes care of all that for you. You don't even got to think about it. You just run and have fun. So.
Okay, now one of the other things I was kind of curious about this design is the removable trays for the battery and the electronics. Is there what's the point of that? I guess is there something that sparked that design?
Yeah, well, Team Associated is a company built on performance products, and when we originally started, it's kind of a funny story, but we had the truck already in tooling, almost done, and at the last second said, oh man, we got to put a speed control tray in this thing because people run in conditions that are wet, dirty, dusty, servo tape falls off, etc. Next thing you know, you're driving your truck, your speed control's flopping out the side. No one wants to see that. It's just not fun. So I went through and designed a new radio tray for the speed control mount that actually it's raised off the chassis to allow zip ties to go from underneath, or you can drill your own holes from the bottom. There's enough room for a button head screw to secure a speed control that has the proper mounts. It helps secure the battery in the right position as a transponder mount. So it's not something you normally see from Associated in a 10 scale racing platform, but we took the needs that our customers are going to have and we tried to optimize that with performance the best that we could. As far as the receiver box, it's pretty much a must. Everybody out there is expecting waterproof stuff. They want it. It's good to protect your electronics, and it's just something we had to have. So there's different ways of doing it. We think we did it a really nice way. It keeps everything sealed, looks good in the truck, and it does its job.
Now, I've seen a lot of 110 scale vehicles and the hardware that they have on them, and this one looks completely different. Everything from the screws, the nuts, and more specifically the ball studs and ball cups. Can you talk a little bit about what advantages those offer? Yeah,
one thing to remember is this is completely ground up. We didn't take anything that Associated had and start from that. We from the ball studs, the ball cups, the bearings, the shims, etc. It's all new. It had to be. It's a new generation. How long have the same size ball studs been around? It's time for something new. Cars have gotten faster. They've gotten heavier. They're hitting things harder. They need to be stronger. So we took the approach of going metric hardware, which is becoming more of a standard now in the RC industry, with manufacturing locations being more global products available in Europe, etc., where the metric hardware is more common. Decided to unify our product with that strategy, go all metric. And one of the things we did when we came out with the ball studs, no one liked using a hex wrench or a socket wrench for their ball studs. So of course they're broached, so you can use an Allen wrench, and they're also a bigger diameter. They're 5.5 millimeter diameter. The ball cup is more like a rod end style, like you'd see on 8 scale. Has a really, really tight snap fit. It's going to be near impossible to pop one of these things off. They're just stronger, better, all the way around. Stuff you got to have.
Now, talk a little bit about the shock design. They look obviously an awful lot like the shocks that are on the 8 scale vehicles, but there are some minor changes to the naked eye. Is there anything that goes inside the shock that might be new or revolutionary? Definitely.
We've incorporated some stuff in the shocks that's never been done before. It's not a radical change, but it's something that we felt was going to give better performance. And again, when we're designing a product from the ground up, it's not just let's go build something new and make a new mold for something. It's how can we take what's out there and make it better. So with the shocks, we started from literally a clean sheet of paper, wrote down every feature you could possibly have in a shock, be it bladder, emulsion style, single O-ring, dual O-ring, cartridge on the bottom, bleeder cap, bleeder holes, etc. And we took all those features, put them together, and made what we feel is the ultimate shock that you can have for a 10 scale vehicle in this size. I mean, yeah, you could get bigger on a full-size truck and do really trick stuff, but for what we got here in RC, this is about the best you're going to find. Got a cartridge on the bottom, cap on the top. Like I said, you can run a bladder or emulsion style with bleeder holes, bleeder screw holes, so it's really easy to bleed. get every shock the same every time. The seals on the inside of the shocks, they're X-rings. They're not standard O-rings, so they function better for swelling in the oil. They last longer with less drag. And one of the really unique things is how the seals are actually held. There's a separate little tube inside that holds the seals, which is a really critical feature with O-rings and getting shocks to seal properly and last a long time. So the basic stats of the shocks is 13 millimeter bore, 3.5 millimeter shock shaft, all new ends, new ball sizes. It's got a tapered piston, different sizes. We have blank pistons available too, so you can drill your own, do all kinds of testing for it. So it's whatever you want to do with this thing. It's got everything you need.
Now back to the electronics briefly. We've noticed that there's two motor sizes that you can use in this one. Yep. The standard 540, which we've used for 10 scale electric vehicles, and then the bigger 550. Is there any type of durability concern with the 540 motors, considering that it's a four-wheel drive platform, turning a belt, and much bigger, heavier vehicle than the standard 110 scale four-wheel drive buggy, so to speak?
Yeah. This was one of the first, I guess you'd call it, myths we had to debunk, and I was kind of key on that. When you look at all these trucks, you notice everybody's running the 550 motors. What's going on? Is there any way to make a 10 scale motor work? Well, let's figure it out. So we went out and we did testing, and what we found is you can make a 10 scale motor work. A standard 540 motor will work fine, but in any condition, you put a bigger motor in, it's gonna run cooler. It's gonna be a little bit more efficient. But what we built is a product that you can 100% use 10 scale electronics in, and given decent speed, reasonable conditions, you're not gonna have any problems with it. We ran run times 11, 12 minutes on a 10 scale system at race speed with absolutely no problems overheating. So there's guys that are going to want to go ballistic, and you can put the 8 scale stuff in. There's guys that are going to want to be bulletproof under any circumstance. Go ahead, put the 8 scale electronics in. It's going to be fine. Truck's going to be a little bit heavier, system's going to be a little bit more expensive, but it's going to work either way. So if you already have 10 scale stuff, try what you got. If you need to make the upgrade, then go for that. So there's been some questions too on the motor sizes that fit. For sure, you can fit the LRP short course motor, the new long size, the X12, and also the Tekin short course motors will also fit. So,
well, this is an all-new car, so obviously people are going to wonder, how easy is it to work on? Is it have you put any extra designing into making this thing easier to work on?
Actually, yeah. There's pretty much nothing that went into this truck that didn't get its due thought and time to put into it. One of the first things you'll notice when you pick up the truck is it uses virtually all cap head screws. There's only a very few places on here that uses a smaller than 2.5 millimeter screw. The reason we chose that are twofold. One, you can easily use a ball end wrench to get to places that are hard to reach. And two, if you get dirt in it, it's a lot easier to clean out than say a 2 millimeter Allen wrench size. So we did put some thought into that. You'll notice too on the truck that there's only a few screws, I could count them for you on probably one hand, on the bottom of the truck to actually get filled in with dirt. So everything's accessible from the top. So when you're working on it on your bench, anything that you need to work on, you can do it all from the top. Don't have to worry about stuff falling out from the bottom, flipping it over back and forth. It's actually a lot nicer to work on than you would think. One of the big questions out there is probably going to be, how is it to get the diffs in and out? Well, first off, I hope I built it so you're not taking them out to maintain them, because they're pretty good diffs, going to last a long time, but people are going to want to tune it. They're going to want to work on their stuff. There are some compromises when you want to build a product for performance and you want to build a product for maintenance. The packaging is really difficult. I'm not going to tell you this is the easiest car to work on out there, but I am going to tell you I made it as easy as possible. Try to use the same length screws everywhere. Try to use of course, the same size wrench, so you're only using one size wrench in your screwdriver or out on your bench. Taking the stuff apart, the main thing is you got to pull the belt off when you get the gearboxes out. Once you do that, It's only a few screws, literally 3 screws pull the whole front bumper system off, 5 screws pull the rear bumper system off, another 2 in the bottom of the tranny, 1 of the cross. I mean, it's really not that many screws to come out. You do it a couple times, you'll get the hang of it, and that diff will be out in a few minutes. So just get comfortable with the belt, setting the tension, pulling the belt off, and you're just going to be fine to work on. Some people may laugh too on the battery strap. You'll see some people have talked about the battery connections in some of the original prototype truck. You'll notice this truck is using the bullet connectors. It's one of the test trucks, but we did use the bullet connectors, so some people saw the ones with the wires. It works just fine with the bullet connectors, fully accessible from the top, even with the big size plugs that come standard. But what you're going to notice too is a unique feature we did for the battery strap. No more body clips to lose, no more stuff to fall off. It's a simple turn lever, you pull that over, unclips, straps off, battery comes right out. So it's a pretty unique feature that people haven't done before. There's different clip methods out there, but those are going to wear, fatigue, etc. These ones, clip, you're done. Easy as that. So.
Well, the front of this truck looks very different from most vehicles I've ever seen. There's a servo in there somewhere, but why don't you give us a little tour of that front compartment area and kind of walk us through some of the different concepts that are deployed up there.
Sure. You know, back in the days, it's heard this from an old friend, and I'm going to repeat it because I didn't even know when I learned it, but some of you may have heard with your radios, there's a thing called exponential. Some of the higher end radios have it, some of the lower end ones are coming out. What that does is it changes the speed that the servo travels when you're turning the wheel per left direction, right direction. It'll make it go faster or slower. Well, what that was actually incorporated into radios for was the racers asked for it. And they asked for it because mechanical linkages in steering systems, they have built-in exponential. And one of the things that drives that exponential is the position of the servo and the length of the link, the angle of the link that connects the servo to the bell crank. So there is quite a bit actually of engineering that goes into where you put the servo. You may not think there is, but to get things as right as possible, we made a completely new universal servo mounting system. So no more spacers adding in, or use this mount, flip this way for this servo or that way for that servo. One mounting system for all servos. And what it has is a really cool little alignment tool. So as you're building your steering, put your alignment tool in, connect the servo to the alignment tool, puts a servo in the exact place that it needs to be for all your exponentials to be right, your endpoints to be correct. It's really the first of its kind to be done to actually address a problem that a lot of people don't even know exists, and just take the fixes for granted or take the deficiencies for granted. So it takes a little bit of getting used to. Read your instructions and make sure you know the steps on how to put it in. It's really easy once you do it once and know what you're doing. But it should be a good system for you guys, and hopefully people will start to follow suit so other cars get easier to work on and easier to drive.
From the naked eye looking at this vehicle, this is obviously the slipper area back here, but we see another one in the front. What's the story with that? Is there 2 slippers on this thing or what?
Well, yes. There's a decoupled slipper front and rear, but that's all located in the back. The trick thing is what we put in the front. It's not completely unique to the industry. It has been done. It's never been done on a short course. It hasn't been done in a long time where people are going to be familiar with it or exactly know how to use it. But what it is called a torque override clutch, or layman's terms, a clicker. So you're going to hear the truck going around the track for some people, and it's going to sound like it's broken. Like there's a card in the spokes. Like, what's going on, dude? You got to fix that. Well, it's designed to be that way. Don't panic. It's a tuning option. It allows you to have more corner speed or more steering, let's say, entering a corner. Depending on how you set your truck up and how you drive is going to depend on your corner speed. But it's a tuning option that nobody else has out there right now. Since everyone else is stuck with a diff in the front and the shaft drive to the front, they can't put a one-way on their trucks. We incorporated that feature in here. It's also a drivetrain protection system for the belt, so you land off a jump on the brakes, the override clutch can kick in and it's going to save the belt and the rest of the drivetrain. So it's not a a slipper in the front. It uses the same plug, so you can access it. It uses the same size wrench, so you only got to carry one in your pocket when you're working on it or tuning on the track. So it is a unique feature. It's not a second slipper. It's a override clutch or clicker. So.
Okay. One of the other things we noticed on this truck is that there seems to be 6 body mounts, 2 of them being far underneath where a normal short course truck body would be. What are those for?
Well, there's a lot of people in the lowrider community. No, I'm just kidding. You know, we realize you guys are going to be running these trucks in all kinds of conditions, and what we wanted to provide is a solution to keep your truck clean. One way people have been doing it have been making overbody kind of shrouds or underbody shrouds that go over all the electronics, the chassis, etc., to keep the body or to keep the chassis clean. So we actually incorporated a specific set of body mounts to be used just for that. That you can actually put an underbody on to keep all the dirt off your electronics and keep things clean inside when you're running in mud or sand or wherever. So it's just another option, thinking about how people are going to be using the product and making sure it's going to meet everybody's needs, and you'll be happy with it.
All right. One of the other things we see here is that the height of these body mounts seem like they are adjustable. Is that what's the purpose of that?
Yeah. Well, tuning, of course, and different body options. We're not always going to have the same bodies available. Different manufacturers make different bodies, and they have different height, hoods, decks, etc. So we want to make sure we incorporate all that into there. You'll look at the body mount and see this weird kind of offset design. It uses the same body mount, front and rear, but it's actually, you can think of it as a little bit of a spring too. So it's meant to try and make your body last a little bit longer, take a little bit of the load to keep your body from being as damaged. But yeah, you can raise and lower the body on this and get the attitude of the truck exactly what you want it to be. Get as low as possible for lowest CG for racing, or jack it up for more bashing or doing whatever you want to make it look cool.
One of the things that some people have been wondering is about the gear system. Is it your standard 48 pitch stuff seen in other 10 scale electric stuff, or talk a little bit about the gear selection, gear choice,
sure.
And, stuff like that.
Sure. 48 pitch gears have been around a long time, and they've been good. But one thing that's pretty new to the industry is brushless power, and bigger motors putting a lot of power through your stuff. What we decided to do is we realized the need for stronger drivetrain and something that's going to live up a little bit better if it happens to get a little bit of debris inside the gearbox. So we went with 32 pitch gears. I haven't used 32 pitch in a long time at Team Associated, but we felt it was the right decision to go with 32 pitch. The gears are all plastic inside the transmission. I say all plastic, whereas the top shaft is a steel gear, but the idler gear and the diff gears are plastic, whereas other manufacturers out there, they're using all steel gears. Some of them don't have the gear technology to make the materials live. Others, you just can't put plastic in those conditions. So we're able to get a little bit lighter and cheaper drivetrain for your replacement parts and higher performance, higher acceleration with the lighter weight parts. We also carried that trend on through to the spur gear and pinion. Some of the other four drive short courses out there use a Mod 1 pinion gear and spur. We decided to go with the 32 pitch, which is what we've used on the GT2, GT, etc. It's a proven gear size. There's pinion gears out there by other very reputable manufacturers. And we have incorporated the ability to use a 5mm shaft on the motor, and pinion gears for that will be available. So you can run plastic gears. No need for steel gears on this for the pinion, or I'm sorry, for the spur gear, whereas you'll find in other cars. So keeps it running quieter and lasts long. And one of the things that keeps us able to do that is the sealed drivetrain. So
it's not going to be a meat grinder like a lot of the four-wheel drive cars are, so to speak.
Yeah, I hope not. Keep your fingers out. Yeah.
Since this is a short course truck, I gotta ask you, is there anything new about these mud flaps?
The mud flaps. Yes. Actually, I mean, you're going to laugh at this, but we got a lot of feedback, and some people may remember from the original short course release of the SC10, the mud flaps. People would actually take scissors and cut the mud flaps off right across the bottom of the RC10.com. That was the trick tuning feature to get your truck to have more traction. You guys might not think we listened to you, but we did. you'll see the step in the rear bumper actually raised up the mud flap 7 millimeters. Guess how much that distance is right there underneath the RC10.com. It's 7 millimeters. So the mud flaps have been raised up, and they're also softer material. So anyone that thought that your mud flaps are really going to cause you a problem, I mean, besides being a little bit AWOL, I mean, they're not going to be a problem anymore. Your mud flaps are going to be fine. So they are softer material. They're in a little bit better position, and actually brought up the mud flaps. And this truck has best in class ground clearance. So when you're out there on a racetrack or you're battling with your buddies, etc., and you get into a bump section or rhythm section, the jumps are really close together. This truck has more rear end ground clearance than any other truck out there in its class. So shouldn't have any more of that casing the previous jump on your landing and getting you off all squarely for the next one. So it's we really did do our homework on this truck, and think you're going to be happy with it.
Well, you know, I was asking that question as a joke, and there was actually a legitimate reason. You know, you actually did design the mud flaps in a new way, innovative way. So it's an excellent looking vehicle. We thank you for taking time to stop by and chat with us about it.
Yep.
Nicely done. Thanks for stopping by. Jason Corl, the product engineer for the SC10 4x4.
Thank you.